Mask Network is officially stepping in as the new steward of Lens, taking responsibility for pushing decentralized social from infrastructure into real consumer products. After acquiring Orb last year, this move confirms one thing clearly. Mask is not experimenting anymore. They are committing. On paper, this is exactly what the Lens ecosystem has been asking for. This is not just a handover. It's a moment of truth for decentralized social. Don't fuck it up.
Wow. Okay. That is certainly a way to wake everyone up. I can feel the caffeine kicking in just from listening to that.
I aim to please. But seriously, welcome back to the deep dive. We are tackling something today that, it really feels like a massive pivot point for the entire Web3 space.
It really does.
And look, I want to be super clear right off the bat. I didn't just pull that aggressive sign-off out of thin air to be edgy. That phrase, don't F-word it up, that comes directly from the community sentiment analysis and the source material we're looking at today.
Okay.
It's raw, it's loud, and it just captures the mood perfectly.
It really does. It reflects this very specific kind of anxiety mixed with hope that is just bubbling up in the Web3 social space right now.
Right.
We are looking at Mask Network taking over the stewardship of Lens protocol. And the reason the language is so strong in the sources is because the stakes are incredibly high. The community feels like they've been waiting a long, long time for this.
They have. So our mission today is to unpack exactly what this handover looks like. We're going to look at why this is happening now, the specific fix-it list the community is demanding.
Which is quite a list.
Oh, it's a laundry list. And finally, why this is being called the moment of truth for decentralized social media.
And if you zoom out, this isn't just, corporate restructuring.
Yeah.
This is a philosophical shift in how we build these networks.
Yeah.
It's the shift from does the code work to does anyone actually care?
So let's get into the context. What exactly is happening here? Because to an outsider, looking at the headlines, it might look like Lens was just bought out. But looking at the deal structure in our notes, that's not quite right, is it?
No, it's more nuanced than a buyout. The source material is very specific here. Lens protocol remains open source and permissionless. That hasn't changed.
Okay.
The code is still there for anyone to audit or fork. But the day-to-day product direction, the steering wheel, if you will, is shifting to Mask Network and its ecosystem.
And for those who might not follow the players daily, Mask is the team behind the apps Orb and Firefly, right?
That's right.
They're the ones actually building the interfaces people touch.
Exactly. And that's a crucial detail we'll come back to. But the headline here is that Lens is effectively admitting something out loud.
What's that?
The protocol phase is done. They spent years building the engine, the backend, the cryptography. But now they're realizing that the next battle isn't about better code. It's about the consumer experience.
It's the difference between building a highway and building a car that people actually want to drive.
Perfect analogy.
You can have the smoothest pavement in the world, but if the only car available is a tractor, nobody's going on a road trip.
That is the perfect analogy. And Mask is making a very clear bet here. They believe that decentralized social media doesn't need more primitives. It doesn't need more complex back-end tools.
It needs products.
It needs products. It needs apps that your non-crypto friends would actually open without needing, a PhD in computer science.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. Does this mean Lens failed? If they have to hand over the keys to someone else to build the product, does that mean the original vision didn't work?
It's a natural question. But the sources argue that it's not a failure of the idea. It was an infrastructure ceiling.
An infrastructure ceiling? Break that down for me.
Think about it. Lens proved that a decentralized social graph where you own your connections and your content could work. But proving it works is very different from supporting mass adoption.
Right.
The old tech stack simply couldn't handle a consumer-grade experience. It was just too slow, too expensive, too clunky.
I remember trying to use early decentralized social apps. You had to sign a transaction just to, a post. It felt like doing your taxes every time you wanted to double tap a photo.
That is the infrastructure ceiling. You were trying to run a high-speed consumer app on a dirt road. And to their credit, the source material highlights that Lens did a lot of work to fix this before the handover. This wasn't a fire sale where they just gave up on a broken product. They rebuilt the foundation specifically to solve that transaction fatigue.
I saw mentions of Lens Chain in the notes. That was the big pivot, right?
Yes, back in May 2024. They announced Lens Chain, which is built on ZK Sync and Avail.
Let's pause on the tech soup for a second. ZK Sync and Avail. I know ZK stands for zero knowledge, but why should you, the listener, care about those specific names? How does that change my experience scrolling my feed?
It all comes down to cost and speed. So think of ZK Sync like a zip file for your transactions. Instead of processing every single like or comment individually on the main blockchain, which is slow and expensive, it bundles thousands of them together. compresses them with zero knowledge proofs, and processes them all at once. It's incredibly fast.
So instead of checking out every single item at the grocery store separately, you just scan the whole cart in one go.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Avail handles the data availability part, making sure all that data is actually stored and accessible without clogging up the network.
Got it.
This combination is what allows you to use the app without paying gas fees for every little action. It makes it feel free and instant, like Instagram, even though it's running on a blockchain.
That makes sense. And then there was Lens V3, known as Grove. The notes mention family accounts. Now, usually when I hear family accounts, I think of Netflix kicking me off my brother's password, but this is something else.
It's actually much cooler. In crypto terms, family accounts refers to something called account abstraction. Traditionally in crypto, your wallet is your identity. You lose the key, you lose everything. Account abstraction separates the two.
So I can have a manager account that handles the security, while other profiles can just, post and interact.
Precisely. It simplifies onboarding so much. It means you can sign up and start using the app without having to write down a 12-word seed phrase immediately.
It stops the experience from feeling like rocket science.
Or a bank heist, yeah.
So essentially, they removed the crypto friction.
They try to.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, Lens delivered. They built the highway. But, and this is the big but, infrastructure doesn't create daily usage.
Yeah.
You can build the best road in the world, but if there are no destinations, nobody drives on it.
And that's the gap. The challenge has shifted from building rails to building experiences, and that is the specific context where Mask takes the wheel.
Exactly. They are the product guys coming in to drive on the road that Lens paved. Mask knows how to build apps. They've done it with Firefly. They've done it with Orb. Now they have the underlying data layer to back it all up.
Okay, so the road is paved, Mask is in the driver's seat, but the passengers, the community, they are getting restless.
Yeah.
The source material is brutally honest here. It says the community is done with soon. They don't want promises anymore.
They want action. They've heard we're building the infrastructure for, 3 years now? They're ready to see the payoff.
Right. And there is a specific mandate outlined in our sources. It's almost like a checklist for survival for Mask.
Yeah.
I want to walk through these because they are incredibly specific. This isn't just make it better. It's operational.
Let's do it.
First up, lead by example. This seems obvious, but apparently it's been an issue.
It's the dogfooding principle. The mandate is that Mask team members need to be active on Lens daily.
No more DOS developers who build the tool but use Twitter all day.
You nailed it. Stewardship means actually using the product, posting, replying, experimenting. You can't just announce plans from some ivory tower if you aren't feeling the pain of the user experience every single day.
If you aren't annoyed by the lag.
Exactly. If you aren't annoyed by the glitches, you won't fix them with the urgency that's required. The community wants to see the leaders in the comment section feeling the same pain they are.
I love that. If it breaks, I want to know that you're annoyed by it too. Okay, number 2, radical transparency.
This is a big one. Silence kills trust faster than anything in crypto. The mandate here is very, very clear. Publish a clear roadmap.
Show us the plan.
Show us the treasury overview. Define the path to the DAO.
It sounds like there's been a bit of a black box problem previously. Like, trust us, we have money, we have a plan, but nobody actually sees it.
There has. And when people don't know what's happening, they assume the worst.
Yeah.
The development has stopped or the money ran out. Radical transparency means showing your work even when it's messy.
Right.
Even if the roadmap changes, show us why. Just treat the community like adults.
Number 3 is related. Fix the comms.
Simple, but vital. The source calls for a dedicated team for weekly updates and community calls. You can't just disappear for a month and then drop a blog post. Regular, reliable communication beats a flashy announcement every single time. It builds a rhythm.
Consistency over intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, number 4. This one is really interesting because it touches on the economics of social media. Sustainable incentives.
Oh, this is crucial. The source specifically says, stop the weekly token drops that attract farmers.
Farmers. We aren't talking about agriculture here. For you listening who might be new to this part of Web3, define farming in this context and why it's so bad for social networks.
So in crypto, farmers are users, or often bots, who only engage with an app to get free money or tokens. They don't care about your posts. They don't care about the community. They are spamming good project or nice pick thousands of times just to qualify for a payout.
Which ruins the experience for everyone else. It's like trying to have a conversation at a party where everyone is just shouting, give me $5.
It completely destroys the signal. If you optimize for them, you get a ton of noise and zero culture. The metrics look great. Look, we have 100,000 daily active users, but none of them are real. The mandate for Mask is to shift focus to long-term retention. Build features that make people want to stay because the app is fun, not because they're getting paid pennies to like a post.
That distinction is everything. You want missionaries, not mercenaries.
That's the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
You want people who are there for the conversation itself.
Number 5, ship real integrations. And there was a specific example mentioned here about Polymarket.
Right. So SocialFi, the intersection of social media and finance, it's been a buzzword for years, but it's mostly been theoretical.
Just an idea.
Exactly. The mandate is to make it real. Imagine betting on a prediction market like Polymarket directly inside your social feed on Orb without jumping through 10 different hoops or connecting 3 different wallets.
So I see a debate about an election, and right there in the comment thread, I can place a bet on the outcome.
That is the dream. That is real integration. It removes the friction between talking about a market and participating in it.
And finally, number 6, operational basics.
This is the unsexy stuff that keeps the lights on. Restart the LIP process. That's the Lens Improvement Proposal process. So the community can actually suggest changes again.
It sounds boring, but if you claim to be decentralized, you have to let people vote on changes.
Correct. And please, for the love of God, create a dedicated channel for critical outages. When the site goes down, people need to know you know.
It's is it just me or is everyone offline? Or like, panic. Just give us a status page.
It's basic operational hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
But when you miss it, it just looks amateur.
So that's the checklist. It seems doable, but also heavy. It requires a huge shift in culture from building tech to servicing customers.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the risks.
Mm-hmm.
Because while on paper this all makes sense, in reality there are some massive elephants in the room.
Yeah. Let's talk about the things that could go wrong. The source material mentions the fragility of trust.
Trust is a non-renewable resource in this space. The ecosystem has been burned by silence before. If Mask comes in and is vague, or if they make a misstep and don't own it immediately, that don't fuck it up energy we started with, it will turn into anger very, very quickly.
Then there's this concept of ethos risk or soft capture. This sounds like a corporate thriller movie plot. What does that actually mean in this context?
This is a deep fear in decentralized protocols. Soft capture is when a single entity gains so much influence over a protocol that they effectively control it, even if they don't technically own it on paper.
It's control without accountability.
Exactly. If Mask ends up directing all the development, controlling the funding, and deciding the roadmap, is it really a decentralized protocol anymore? Or is it just a Mask product?
They have to prove they are stewards, not dictators.
Mask has to prove that this is genuine stewardship, that they are serving the protocol, not just extracting value from it to pump their own valuation.
Which leads perfectly into the technical risk that stood out to me, the API neutrality test. This feels like a conflict of interest waiting to happen.
It is the biggest structural risk. Remember, Mask owns Orb. Orb is a consumer app, a client for Lens. But now Mask also stewards Lens, the underlying protocol.
So they own the road, and they also own the biggest trucking company on the road.
That's it. And the temptation is to give Orb special treatment. Maybe Orb gets access to new features a week before everyone else.
Or better API rates.
Maybe Orb gets better API rate limits. Maybe Orb gets a secret fast lane.
And if they do that,
if there is even a perception that Mask-owned apps get preferential access, it breaks the core promise of the protocol. Why would any other developer build a competitor to Orb if they know the game is rigged against them from the start?
Of course.
The Lens API must remain fully open and neutral. It's a litmus test for Mask's integrity.
That is huge. They have to treat their own child like every other kid in the class. In fact, they almost have to be harder on Orb to prove the point.
And that is very hard to do when you have investors and revenue targets for your own app. It's an internal conflict they have to manage transparently.
Another risk mentioned is simply execution speed.
Delays kill culture faster than bugs. That's a quote from the source.
Wow.
Social products live or die by momentum. If it takes 6 months to ship a feature that Twitter or Farcaster shipped yesterday, you're dead. You can't be slow just because you're decentralized.
Web 2 moves fast. If Web 3 wants to compete, it can't hide behind governance delays.
The user doesn't care that you're voting on a proposal. They just want the edit button.
And finally, the governance piece itself. The governance reality check.
Right. Promising a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, is easy. Everyone does it. But running one, that requires real operational muscle.
It has to work.
If you promise community governance, but you don't have the tools or the processes to let people actually vote and decide, it's worse than not promising it at all. It just feels like a lie.
It becomes governance theater.
Exactly. Mask needs to ensure the community actually has a hand on the wheel, not just a toy steering wheel in the back seat.
It sounds like Mask is walking a very, very thin tightrope here. But let's zoom out. We've looked at the to-do list. We've looked at the risks. What is the strategic outlook? What's the bros take, as the source calls it?
The bros take is actually incredibly logical. It calls this a match made in on-chain heaven.
Okay, sell me on the romance. Why do these two need each other so badly?
Think about the assets. Lens needed product leadership. They had the tech, but no real product vision. Mask needed a battle-tested social graph. They understand apps, but they needed the underlying data structure to anchor their whole ecosystem.
So Mask brings the interface, Lens brings the database.
In simple terms, yes. And that's why the stakes are so high. This isn't just about whether Lens succeeds or fails.
Why does it matter to the rest of the crypto world? Why should you, listening right now, care if you don't even use Lens?
Because if Mask succeeds, it proves that decentralized social media can actually scale. It proves you can ship consumer-grade products and compete with Web2 giants without selling your soul, without harvesting user data and locking people in.
And if they fail?
If they fail, it reinforces the absolute worst narrative in crypto. Great tech, poor execution. It tells the world that decentralized social is just a hobbyist toy that can never go mainstream. It validates every single skeptic who says, this will never work.
So no pressure.
None at all. Just the entire reputation of the consumer crypto sector on their shoulders.
But the future outlook in the source material is surprisingly optimistic, provided they can pull this off. It says the hard part begins now: distribution, daily habits.
Right. The rails are in place. The fascinating thing is that success won't come from the protocol itself. It's going to come from what is built on top.
Like what? Give me a vision of the future here.
Games, creator tools, niche communities. The source mentions that we need entirely new formats we have not seen yet. That's the dream of composability.
Composability, that means using the pieces like Lego bricks, right?
Exactly. When the data is open, a developer can come along and invent a new way to interact that Facebook or X could never dream of because their data is locked in a silo.
So like what?
Imagine a game where your inventory is based on your social connections, or a reading app where the recommendations come directly from your graph of trusted friends.
That's the aha moment for me. The ultimate goal isn't just to clone Twitter on the blockchain.
If you just clone Twitter, you lose. Yeah. The user experience will always be slightly worse because of the decentralized friction. You have to enable things that are impossible on Web 2. That's where the victory condition lies.
And that's how it goes mainstream.
That's how decentralized social stops being a niche for crypto nerds and starts being a real option for normal people because it offers something unique.
So we are at the starting line of phase 2.
We are.
To wrap this up, let's summarize. Mask has the pieces to win. They have the tech, the apps, the mandate, but they have inherited a massive responsibility.
They have. And they owe it to the OGs who stayed through the bear market, as the source puts it. And it really just comes down to those 3 requirements we discussed: trust, clarity, and culture. You need all 3.
You can't just have good code. You need the culture.
You need the vibes, to put it scientifically.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. We've been talking about stewardship. Mask is stewarding Lens. But here's the provocative question. If a decentralized protocol relies this heavily on a single entity, in this case, Mask, to save it through product stewardship, is it truly decentralized?
It's the paradox of progressive decentralization, isn't it? Sometimes you need a dictator, hopefully a benevolent one, to get the ship moving before you can truly hand it over to the crew.
And as a user, do you even care? Do you care about the philosophical purity of decentralization, or do you just want an app that works and doesn't steal your data?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, and the market is about to give us the answer.
Well, we will be watching Mask very closely to see if they can pull it off. If they start posting daily updates and fixing that API, we'll know they're listening. If not, we'll refer them back to the intro of this deep dive.
We certainly will.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay curious.
Stay curious.